So, welcome once again to the weekly Coffee and Heroes show as we continue with our new format, bringing you new content, new episodes every single week. Your host is always Alan, the owner of Coffee and Heroes in Belfast. Joined this afternoon, of course, Mr. Keith Miller. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. How you doing? Well, I ask that knowing that you've had a wee bit of a nightmare when it comes to the new comic book delivery from our friends, Diamond.
Yeah, I mean, there will be a ranting coming, I'm sure. We may as well just jump straight into it now.
Absolutely. Try and stop you. Try and stop you.
Yeah, it's a frustrating thing when things are out of your control. With Diamond, I'm always very honest with our customers. I always like to keep them up to date. My fear a couple of years ago was that people wouldn't think I knew how to run my business or do my orders properly or whatever. But I've just never met a more consistently incompetent company. But the joys of having a monopoly. But yeah, no, we received an email last Thursday saying they received their shipment from the US late, so delivery would arrive a day late. Normally we get them on a Monday, plenty of time to process, but they said it'd arrive on Tuesday, so right, no problem, prepped and ready. Had a busy Monday. Then I get a message on Monday morning saying, well, actually, they're going to be delayed until Wednesday. So, I mean, we're in a fortunate position now where we've built up, the store in such a way that there are people waiting outside the door at 10 a.m. on a Wednesday morning. Looking forward to new releases, excited for a new comic book day. It's a bit of an event for them coming down. So your worry is always that you don't have anything on the shelves to do it with. But
Mhm.
it actually arrived at 4 o'clock on the Tuesday. And I have to say their excuse this week was glorious. It really was the equivalent of the dog ate my homework. They basically said that yeah, the van carrying the delivery got stuck in traffic, so
Oh
it missed the
dear.
boat. Yeah, so it missed the
All
boat.
right.
So it had to wait
Okay.
8 hours on another boat. So yeah, it's one thing after another, but yeah, I took a whole pile of it home on the Tuesday. Vicky came and picked me up, and she was awesome. Helped me do bits and pieces of it on the Tuesday night. Worked my butt off on the Wednesday morning, and 10 o'clock came. Pull lists were at least done, and just things went on the racks throughout the day. So you roll with the punches with it. It is frustrating. It is, but it used to annoy me so much more. I like to think I've slightly calmed with age. It's out of my control. There's nothing I can do. But again, I just always like to keep people informed of it from time to time because there's nothing worse than feeling unprepared when you open the door, when it's your own business. So,
Well, there you
and because
go.
we bag and board everything, it takes a lot of time to process.
Yeah. So we bit of a look behind the comic retailer curtain. In terms of new comic book day stock that should have been on the shelves yesterday and should have been in the pull list yesterday, all good. So anybody can come down, pick up their stuff.
By and large, yes, there was a couple of bits and pieces missing. This one won't affect you, of course, but it's quite well timed that I'm wearing, this hoodie. Issue 2 of DC times AEW was supposed to be out, but no cover A's in the delivery. There were a couple of things missing here and there, but as sad as it is, you come to expect it now, and you see it as a win if less than like 20 items are missing, which is amazing. But again, what can you do? You inform people, you let
Yeah.
them know. No damages or anything like everything's well packed and all the rest. It's just every so often they must go down the invoice and they just miss something, and it is what it is. But
Yeah,
uh,
absolutely.
I get over
Absolutely.
that. I mean, I don't know if I've told this story before or not, but the only time I've ever got on the phone really angry with them was back when I think it was Daredevil number 26. It was the first appearance of Elektra as Daredevil in Chip Zdarsky's run,
Okay.
and I was supposed to have 40 copies, and I had zero. Now, the day that came out, speculators jumped on that, and it was like a £25 issue.
Hmm.
So I was instantly panicking, thinking, A, customers might think that I've decided to keep them all for myself and, sell them at an inflated rate. Or B, I was like, I can't get these copies because I will always. There's been times Diamond have missed stuff in our delivery, and I don't want people to miss out, so I'll pay a little bit extra and just source it elsewhere, and I don't
Yeah.
want them to be disappointed. But there was no way I could have spent the guts of 800 quid on 40 issues of Daredevil. So it's the only time I phoned them up and properly reamed them out over the phone. And they magically found 40 copies. Imagine that came the following week. So, it wasn't like I just upped my orders unexpectedly. I always ordered 40 copies of Daredevil. It's a popular title. So, but
Uh-huh.
hey ho, hey ho.
Yeah, well, listen, so they all shut us. I mean, and the thing you should understand, you communicate enough with your customers through your social media, through this. Nobody, I think, would ever. Presume that you were trying to gouge them. That's never been the case. I think you've developed enough of a reputation now in the store that you don't have to worry if you have a late delivery. Everybody sort of understands.
Yeah, it's not like the comic industry isn't relentless and people have loads to pick up every week anyway if one or two titles are missing. You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
it's a real boom time in the industry. There's so much stuff comes every week. It's, you know, obviously the big two, but independent. You know, there's probably never been
hmm
more independent
hmm
publishers and more big creators working on independent books that therefore, give them much more exposure and so forth. So, yeah, no, it's even if one or two titles are missing, guys, don't worry. If you come to the store, there will be something for you, I can assure you.
Good stuff. Brilliant. And so we're gonna have a wee chat today about stuff that's coming out this week, has come out this week that we're excited for, and a little bit of stuff that we enjoyed over the last few weeks. That we read our pull list last week, and anything else that we've been getting on. Anything else you want to talk about?
You
Anything
see,
industry focused?
this is why we can now do this weekly, Keith. We're so on top of our reading these days. It's criminal. You know, we went through a 6 month period. I think the two of us were always behind, but now
Mm,
it's like pick up the pull list, have it read by the weekend, maybe dip into an omnibus or a graphic novel or whatever.
maybe, absolutely.
Um, yeah, I mean the object of these weekly shows is obviously always to go through what we picked, what's out this week, and what we've been enjoying the last week or so. But we'll always chat a little bit more about one or two other things. So it might be previews like last week. We might have the odd interview coming up soon as well. I'm currently
hmm
setting one or two of those up. But yeah, it's always worth jumping into any sort of comic news that has popped up in the last week or two as well. You know, maybe have a little bit of discussion about some of that stuff. I mean, it's good timing this week to maybe chat a little bit about obviously behind the scenes at Marvel. We talked about it at length. You know, it's a little bit of a mess at the moment, but word came out that Jonathan Hickman he did a 4 issue miniseries not too long ago called Imperial, which was focusing on the sort of the space set adventures in the Marvel universe, and a lot of titles were starting to spin out of that. So you had Nova Centurion, you had Planet She-Hulk,
hmm
amongst others. And there's one out this week, which is Imperial Guardians. But word has come that Marvel has pulled the plug on this Galaxy adventure.
I mean, it's absolutely crazy. It is. It's all very short-term thinking. It's all very. This is coming from the corporate
Oh,
side
the
of
higher ups,
things.
definitely.
It's that sort of. This is a product. This has dropped off after our first issue, which it always does. And I don't know how they know because sure they canceled it before Imperial Guardians was canceled before it even came out.
Yeah.
This stuff is solicited 3 months in advance, so I don't know how they're canceling Nova at issue 6 and She-Hulk at issue 6 or issue 5. It's absolutely mental. They're clearly just getting cold feet. They're going, "Oh, this isn't doing what we expected to do. Cancel it." Instead of realizing that, you know, within you've got your first issue, and then maybe 3 or 4 issues later, some other folk will come onto it as word starts to build, as various sort of people go in the shop
Yeah.
go,
A trade
actually,
comes out as well.
yeah, I'm reading this, I'm really enjoying it. This is really good, so maybe a few more, and it builds, you know what I mean? But people have no,
Patience.
well, those corporate ball bags have no patience. But
Well, let's be honest,
but
they probably don't even look at the story elements or what's being built or anything.
exactly,
They look at a bottom line number and go, oh, this hasn't done
100%,
what we expected it to.
yeah,
But, some of the best comic runs start out slowly, and as you say, they slowly
they
develop a
build
community, they develop,
exactly,
so give it time to breathe, surely, no? I mean, you're
and
as a company, I'm sure you're making enough in other areas to maybe take a creative risk now and then and go, look, we back you on this. We think it can improve, whatever, instead of just cancellation. Because it's going to reach a point for me anyway, I think, where customers and readers are going to stop investing in stories early because they're going to go, well, what if
exactly.
they cancel this again after
Yeah,
5 issues? Do I really
exactly.
want to invest my time and money in this?
Exactly that. And
So
that's that.
it's,
Yeah, there's no confidence because there has been so much of this sort of cancellation rubbish. It's absolutely. I don't know. I don't know. It just comes down to me. It comes down to for me. It just comes down to the fact that the worst move that has been made in comics in the last sort of 15 years is the purchase of Marvel by Disney and the purchase of DC by Warner Brothers. Just fucking horrendous.
yeah, but
Um,
it's interesting. Like, you even hear the way creators talk at the moment. And again, we've covered this in length before, so I'll just chat about it quickly. But, in the last week, I've seen Nick Dragotta come out and go, I'd love to draw 100 issues of Absolute Batman. There's long-term thinking and
mhm.
putting it out there into a public sphere. And
Yep.
when was the last time you heard anybody from Marvel say like, we've got a 50 issue plan, or we've got, Snyder's already said he's written the first 40 of Absolute Batman. Now, obviously, that's because that has been successful. He's got the
Yeah.
security to know.
Uh-huh.
But at the same time, when was the last time anybody at Marvel had that confidence? Was it maybe,
Wags.
are you maybe even going back to like Ultimate Spider-Man by Bendis and
Yeah.
Bagley? You
And
know?
that's it's about what you get back. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a job. People who work in creative industries tend to be a wee bit more driven by passion and less by money, but you still need to pay your rent.
Yeah.
I guess from the absolute point of view, those creators are getting a wee bit more juice from those books. They're a wee bit
Yeah.
more like creator owned books. Certainly, they'll never own the IP
Yeah.
because that's DC's IP, and Absolute Batman's just a derivative of Batman.
Yeah.
Joker's just a derivative of Joker. But they must be getting something a wee bit more if he's going, oh great, I can draw 100 issues of this and still feed my family.
Yeah.
Whereas at Marvel, it's well documented that creatives are not being paid the way they should be paid.
Hmm.
And whether or not that's the case at DC outside of the absolute sort of deal.
Yeah.
So it's really about paying people for their work.
Yeah.
And that then will have, you know, artists and creatives going, oh yeah, cool, then I'm satisfied, then I can do this, then I'm willing to do this. It's planning and payment, it's reward.
Yeah. Well, it, it must be interesting for creatives as well because, obviously I've made a little bit of a joke of you know, how Marvel seemed to be treating Hickman. Krakoa got
Yep.
curtailed, and then Ultimate Spider-Man got curtailed, and they all felt blindsided by that news. And then Imperial's been curtailed. So I've been sort of joking, saying, "Oh, that DC tweet of Jonathan Hickman is coming to DC is going to hit like going to hit like crack sort of
Yeah,
thing."
yeah,
But
yeah.
they must be looking across, and this is all cyclical. I say it all the time. This is all cyclical. 5 years time, the roles might be reversed. DC are
Yeah,
struggling.
yeah,
Marvel are
absolutely.
riding high.
DC
But
have a long history of riding high and then tripping themselves up.
you must be looking across the water and going like, I wouldn't
Aye.
mind jumping into that absolute universe. They're taking some creative, storytelling choices. They're not
Yeah.
behest to
Or
canon. They can do whatever.
yeah.
Absolute Martian Manhunter has a book. You know what I mean? So
Or probably more likely a creative is looking across. I mean, increasingly Marvel and DC for creatives are just right. I'll get started at Marvel and DC. I'll do some for hire work there.
yeah,
I'll not only the AP, and then I'm going to head over to Image where Chip wrote Stillwater, which is now being made into a TV
yeah.
series, or which he
Sex
owns.
Criminals also being turned into
Sex
a TV
Criminal,
series.
all of those. So they create this IP, and they own it. They're going to be paid for that for the rest of their lives. That's a pension, you know.
But even then, that's something that DC are offering at the moment with Vertigo because the creators keep those IPs. I remember Tinian
Brilliant.
talking about it years ago. When we first saw him with Thought Bubble, and we had always said like Nice House on the Lake, we're like, this is an Image book.
Felt like a yeah,
Why is
yeah.
this a DC? And we asked him, why did you set this up at DC? And he was like, three reasons. One, they've got the reach in terms of marketing and printing, and it's the best possible product. Two, they allowed us to keep the IP, and three, they paid us quote a fuck ton of money. So, it can be done at the big companies, but yeah, it's definitely 95% of your work is going to be owned by the bigger companies.
Yeah,
But if you
I
get,
mean, and
or
that's I hadn't realized that about Vertigo. That's great that they're on that Vertigo side adapting the indie model,
yeah,
the Image
because
model
I
of
spoke to Chris Condon about it when I met him at a con last year, and he said we're writing something for Vertigo. And my first question was, well, why not just do it at Image? I was like, well, there's the historical pull of Vertigo, of course, how important it was to the industry and stuff. But it was
Mhm.
like, but we also own the IP. It's
Brilliant,
not,
brilliant.
it's independent of the DC universe. So,
Yeah, and I
but
mean
they're even
they,
covering that a bit.
obviously we know that sort of Chip Zdarsky is moving into what seems like a sort of an organizational role at Marvel, sort of an overseeing sort of show running sort of role. Uh,
Definitely feels that way. There's
yeah,
not been
but
any sort of official announcement about it, but it
but
definitely
he's
feels that way.
certainly the chat on the off panel podcast seems to be shifting that way. And I imagine he hasn't said it outright, but I imagine he has a little bit of comfort of those indie bits and pieces that he owns
Hmm.
that are going to continue to feed him. The Stillwater stuff, the sex criminal stuff beyond that. So now he's sort of gone, okay, well I've got that, so now I can nip back to Marvel here and feel
Yeah.
safe that I'm not
I add
dependent
another
on them.
string to his bow as well with a
Yeah,
completely different
yeah.
position.
I'm
you
not.
know?
He's not dependent on Marvel to keep him on to not. If they cancel his book after fucking 5 issues or whatever, he's still going. Well, fine. They're making Stillwater into a TV series. Big rant.
Yeah.
You
Well, it's
know.
interesting with Chip because obviously it does feel like he's been moved into that position through Wolverine Weapons of Armageddon, leading to
Mm-hmm.
Armageddon, Captain
Uh-huh.
America tying into it.
Mm-hmm.
But just during the week there was an ad he put out through his newsletter, and it was for Mad About DC because they're doing like a Mad special, and
Yeah, yeah, they do. Yeah,
he's
yeah.
in there in a
They
Flash
own.
outfit, typing it up.
Yeah.
So even though he's been moved into that position, it's not like Marvel have tied him down exclusively. You get the
No.
feeling Snyder is tied down exclusively. It's like, look, Scott, you're our guy. But Chip, it seems almost like, yeah, you can come and go if you want. But, I would argue I think Chip is doing the best stuff at Marvel at the moment.
I
So,
would.
that's a
I
smart move.
mean, I mean, I think they're coming from two slightly different places. Scott did, the Batman stuff and whatnot, and he did the metal and the death metal and so forth. Some more successful, some less successful. But then he headed off and did some
Yeah, he did
did
a lot of
some
independent
indie
stuff. He
stuff,
did,
and
yeah, through Dark Horse and Image and so forth.
I'd go
And same
go
again, he's
without,
got that.
yeah. But what I would say
Similar to what you're
is,
just saying there about Chip, sorry, is, you're saying that he has the security of these TV shows and stuff. Well, they're turning Witches into an animated show at Amazon,
yeah,
so there's, a revenue stream there.
yeah, absolutely.
So there's,
No,
again,
I would say maybe his independent stuff wasn't quite of the same profile that
no,
that, for
it
example, Chips
was,
was.
to a degree. I don't know. I mean, Stillwater, again, I can only ever build it, or I can ever only look at
Yeah,
it from
yeah,
my
yeah.
own personal store, but like, Stillwater was not a massive, we had
Uh-huh.
maybe 25 people on it, but it's
Uh-huh.
obviously done well enough and is curious enough that
Yeah.
other industries have looked at it and went, we could adapt that.
Yeah.
Um, Chip's done some stuff with Dark Horse as well. It's maybe slipped under the radar. Yeah, not every book, hits
Yeah.
from
It's
those
a hit.
creators. I
Yeah.
mean, we always
Yeah.
say that people follow creators, but people don't always follow to everything. Like a good example, I've set up this, Scott Snyder section at the moment. Enjoyed Absolute Batman.
Uh-huh.
Here's the rest of his work. I would say 70% of what I've sold off that display is Absolute Batman.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah,
And
yeah.
like even someone yesterday was like, "Oh, I've never actually read any more of his work." And then I sort of pitched a couple of books to them, like, "Oh yeah, they sound really good. I'll
Yeah,
maybe pop
yeah.
in next week for one." And at the same time, while he's buying Absolute Batman, so it can be
Um,
hard to break those habits for people and sort of
and
put them on that track.
speaking of Jonathan Hickman, uh, as we were, and the ills that Marvel have heaped upon him,
Yeah, it's almost
he's
like they need to do some damage control. We
so
cancel all the
he
Imperial stuff, but what's this over here? Well, I'll let you
exactly.
take
So
lead on this since it's your boy.
yeah, absolutely. So he has announced a new Spider-Man series, isn't that right?
Yeah, Spider-Man Long Way Home. They love their home in
Hmm.
the title at the moment. This is definitely some synchronicity, I have to say, with the upcoming movie.
Of course it is. I mean, Spider-Man's been all about home. The movies have been all about home since they were released, Far From Home, Homecoming, all of that
No Way
stuff.
Home.
So this is Hickman and who?
Hickman and Adam Kubert is
Adam
doing the art on
Kubert.
this.
5 issues, I think.
So 5 issues. It's going to throw Spider-Man, Punisher, and Hulk into a dangerous hunt for a missing cosmic cube. Now we have already had it confirmed that Punisher is in the upcoming Spider-Man movie.
Hmm.
Does this mean
Hmm.
Hulk's in the upcoming Spider-Man movie as well?
Who's to
But
say?
yeah,
This
so it looks good.
seems it does. I think it's along the same lines as the Wolverine Revenge
Yeah.
thing.
Hopefully not that silly red band stuff that they've been doing,
No, I
but
don't. Well, sure, it's hard to say. I think maybe Red Band's done and dusted. I wish
I
Black
get the feeling
Bags
that Spider-Man is the one character who's exempt from red band.
probably. Yeah,
I don't think they would put Spider-Man in an adults-only
yeah.
book, to be
No,
honest.
no. I think this is along that line, and that it's 5 issues. It's removed from continuity.
Yeah.
And he's doing it because I mean Adam Kubert is one of the princes of art in Marvel.
Yeah.
The Kubert lineage, and I think John Hickman's gone. Yeah, you fancy drawing this with me? This is all yours.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah, for
absolutely.
anybody who hasn't seen this here, just having a look at AIPT Comics, they've reported it with the story unfolds in a time before the Punisher's legend took hold. The Hulk is little more than a rumor, whispered about but rarely seen. Deep in the jungles of South America, AIM has succeeded in creating a cosmic cube. Frank Castle, Bruce Banner, and Peter Parker all arrive with the same goal: keep the cube out of the wrong hands. Unfortunately for them, each believes the others cannot be trusted. What follows is a three-way struggle over one of the most dangerous objects in the Marvel Universe. Alliances will shift, trust will collapse, and the pursuit of cosmic power will push each man to its limits. Hickman says, I'm so happy to be working with Adam Kubert again, and even happier that we're getting to work on Spider-Man Long Way Home. Absolutely no one is going to see this one coming. So, yeah, looks good. 5 issues. In terms of a release schedule, I believe it's aiming for sort of May, June
Cool,
time.
cool,
It doesn't seem to
cool.
be a specific date there, but some lovely covers that they've shown off, some great interior art, and there are several people in store, and you know who you are. That because the Punisher is involved in this, you're going to be happy.
Yeah, you're in. There were some cool announcements last week at well, there were some announcements last week at Emerald City Comic Con in Seattle in the Pacific Northwest.
Hmm.
DC stuff, Marvel stuff. But we'll maybe have a look at that next week, will we?
Yeah, sure. No worries. We can
Um,
do that. Maybe
and
do a good breakdown of the con itself. I mean, Emerald City is, it's not quite the same sort of prestige level as New York and San Diego. Those are the two
yeah,
big bad boys. But there is Emerald City, and it's always a big one as well. So yeah, we can certainly dig into that next week as well. But what we'll do is we'll change tack slightly, and we'll have a look at what is out this week that we're looking forward to. I'm gonna start off myself just simply because I think this is a big one, and it's strictly speaking, it's not a comic, but it is Comics the magazine. So this is the first time I would say since Wizard, perhaps, that we're getting in a completely comic-centric magazine in print. This is not a digital online thing. I mean, you could maybe argue Chip did it for a little bit, but it was a little bit tongue in cheek, obviously, with Zdarsky News and stuff. But this is going to be monthly. It is going to be sold directly in comic stores. It is a $3 price point, which is a very nice thing as well. Of course, they've front loaded it with Absolute Batman. So what you've got in here is interviews with Nick Dragotta, Scott Snyder, Marcus Martin, Clayton Cowles. They've got power rankings in it in terms of like the best artists around, the best writers, the best publishers, and all that kind of stuff. But they also go through, picks of stuff that's coming out, whether it's Lobo or
hmm
it's Usagi Yojimbo, that kind of thing. Brief history of different things, like there's a history of fanzines in here for
right.
issue one. But yeah, it's completely comic centric, and that's great to see. I mean, we're unfortunately living in an era where, news agents pretty much don't exist anymore. Certainly in
hmm
Belfast, we used to have Eason, we used to have W.H. Smith. Those don't exist anymore over here. If you want magazines, you're lucky if you find them in the aisles in Tesco and Sainsbury's, maybe. So for them to do a dedicated comic one and to have it in comic stores, I think is quite a bold move. There's a mailbag at the start as well. Oh, I see Chip Zdarsky's written in a couple of times for that. But yeah, there's like
Who's that coming from? Who's publishing that?
so it is being published by, I'm not even 100% sure if I'm completely honest.
Ah, no
Comics
worries.
the Magazine, published by Prana DM. They're
Okay.
based out of New York. So,
Okay.
but yeah, you've got like a 7-page interview with the team behind Absolute Batman. You've got some stuff on Absolute Catwoman. But this was the real thing, Keith. This was the real treat. We
Okay.
have a
Okay.
one-page brand new story for Chew, written by
Ah,
John Layman with art by Rob Gilroy, which includes Poyo.
boyo.
So it
Brilliant.
looks like they're going to
Brilliant.
be doing like some original like comic strips in it and stuff as well. So I ordered in like 50 or 60 of these. We have loads of them
All
in
right.
store. As I say,
I'll
that
grab
price
one.
point is great. And again, it's just nice to see the fandom celebrated because we haven't had anything like
Yeah.
this in quite some time.
Cool. That's very nice. Very nice to see. Obviously I haven't picked up my pull list just yet. I'm
Mm.
going in this afternoon to do so before karate training. But I do know what I'm expecting. So yeah, top of that list will be Die Reloaded number 5 by Kieran Gillen and Stephanie Hans, the sequel to their treatise on role-playing games. The second series, absolutely fantastic stuff. It says, listen, in Die there is a realm where there's nothing but islands, and each is a better world. What can be wrong with that? Players. Players can be wrong, and this just tracks. As a GM, you may have a great story in mind, and the only thing that can that can screw it up are the players. So I'll be looking forward to that. Really enjoying this series.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the bit, well, I mean, Die's always been a one that we've pushed quite a lot. If you haven't read the original series, highly recommended. 20 issues in total. This is the same
Hmm.
creative team, Kieran Gill and Stephanie Hans. I mean, from a store point of view, without a doubt, the biggest title this week is Absolute Batman. Number 18 is out this week. This is
Uh-huh.
the second part of the Poison Ivy story. So
Yep.
written by Scott Snyder, art by Eric Kanate. I have already read it because, of course, I did. This was my reward for sitting up to 11:30 sorting the delivery on Tuesday night.
That and the whiskey. That and the
That
whiskey.
and the whiskey. The whiskey went very well with it, I can tell you. And this is one of the best issues of Absolute Batman yet, simply because there's three different story threads in it that are all sort of colliding at the end. I think it's
Mm.
very exciting what they're setting up. But yeah, I mean, this is, I don't even need to talk about it anymore. It's, without a doubt, the biggest comic around at the moment. So, new issue out this week. As ever, all the variants and stuff are in store as well. So, whatever you're looking for in your Absolute Batman, we will endeavor to deliver. But there is a DC one this week that I see you've got on your list, and DC are doing this thing a little bit like so Marvel have done this with stuff like Moon Knight, where they've changed the title, but they've went back to number one, whereas DC are starting to do a couple of new books where they're not changing the numbering, but they're changing the title. So an example is Titans. It's going to change to New Titans. But one this week that's changing that I know is a favorite of your own.
Yeah, yeah. Emperor Aquaman. Aquaman is becoming Emperor Aquaman, I guess to reflect changes within the story. Creative team remains Jeremy Adams and John Timms. Jeremy Adams, I think, is one of DC's MVPs at the minute.
100% agree.
He's doing a lot of really solid work. I don't know if this is more or less annoying than the change to number ones. At least the change to number one, CLZ understands whenever you scan it in. But yeah, it
It
is
doesn't
it is
bother me from a
nice.
store perspective. I've had to update people's pull lists because obviously if I'm looking for Aquaman in the order form, it's Emperor Aquaman I have to
Yeah, yeah,
find.
yeah,
So I had to change them as I was doing them this week. But I
yeah,
kind of like it. I like that they're respecting the numbering. I like that
yeah.
as,
Absolutely.
as as someone, if you're reading Aquaman, for example, it's not like, oh god, back to number one again sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So this
So
is this is a bit of a jump on point here for the King of Atlantis. After the events of DCKO, he finds himself on a journey of self-discovery where he must launch a brand new mission imbued by Omega Energy, the very essence of conquest. To reach across the stars with the power of the blue, our king must first defeat the Crimson Queen and free his friends and family from her evil clutches. What is Arthur's ominous connection to the Omega that threatened to tear apart the very fabric of reality in the KO tournament? Find out in this jumping on point that answers the question, what does it mean to rule with absolute power? Geez, DC's loving that absolute word at the minute, aren't they? Between their
I mean,
absolutes, their absolute power,
I
their,
mean, it's jumping outside of DC. I mean, there's a new Ben 10 comic coming out, and they've called it the absolute version of Ben 10. And I kid you not, I had 35 pre-orders already. So
uh,
clearly that word is working. But
yeah,
th this
absolutely.
this does demonstrate a good point about DC this week, in that, pardon me, there's a lot of jumping on points. I think because they did their whole all-in thing,
Yeah.
where it was like every title has a jumping on point. Most story arcs seem to be 5, 6 issues, so there's going to be jumping on points for titles always around the same time. So Action Comics 1096 is out this week. It's a jumping on point for new readers.
Mm-hmm.
Emperor Aquaman is a jumping on point, and also Supergirl 11 out this
1096
week.
Action Comics is sticking with the Superboy. Mark
Yeah,
Waid, Delio, yeah, cool.
yeah.
Yeah, Aquaman has been brilliant under Jeremy Adams. Really good, the strongest the character's been in a long time. So if you've missed that, now's the time to be jumping on.
Yeah. I mean, it's an easy one to throw out there. All looking forward to, because this is like saying I'm looking forward to Conan. But new issue of Walking Dead Deluxe out this
Brilliant,
week. I've
brilliant.
never assumed Carl was the same height as Rick, but
Uh, there was
this
a, I
makes
mean, there was
you
a
know.
time jump. There was a time jump, and Carl grew up. You know,
Oh, I know, because he's moved away from Rick at this point, and he's
yeah,
he's set
moved
up
to
shop
Hilltop.
at the
Uh-huh.
hilltop with Maggie and stuff, which is always
Yeah,
interesting character development. But we used to say it always felt like a cheat if you recommended Walking Dead on the podcast, because it was like a no-brainer. But every so often, I just like to throw it in
yeah.
there.
Throw it in there, and
You know,
we're starting to close in on the final arc, the final
yeah,
act.
we're
Yeah,
two-thirds of the way through it, which
yeah.
is really, really
Hmm.
good. But yeah, I mean, we spoke about it loads of times before. Walking Dead in color again, gives it a fresh new feeling.
Uh-huh.
Kirkman with his cutting room floor stuff at the back. We're moving into the Whisperer War at this point. So I remember the first time I read this, actually, where two of the characters are hiding at the side of a road, and there's like a
Oh,
trail of
brilliant,
zombies walking past, and
brilliant.
they hear
They
whispers,
hear
and you're
the
just sort of like,
whispering.
"Oh my
Oh
God,
my
are the zombies
God,
evolving? Are they
it's
evolving?"
so it's so chilling. It was so
Yeah.
chilling again the second time round. Um, moving from chilling to just violent. So I'm looking forward to Robert Vendetti, Trevor Hairsine, and Tonchi Zonjic's Ordained #2. That's coming out of Bad Idea Comics. New York Times best-selling writer Robert Vendetti, powerhouse artist Trevor Hairsine, tighten the noose on the next brutal chapter of their no-holds-barred action crime spectacle. After a bruising brawl with mob boss Cormac Burns' hired guns, Father Royston Craig is still standing, but Cormac's not through with Roy yet. Now an entire city of corrupt cops and ruthless thugs is tasked with one mission: kill the priest. Forced to rely on his combat-hardened skills that he earned in a life they thought he'd left behind, Roy is battered, outnumbered, and on the run. His faith will be tested in a city full of killers. The question is, who can he trust? 40 pages of goodness. The first issue was great. There was a wee one-shot as well we got a hold of, so yeah,
Yeah,
lots to
Ordained's been great. The Bad Idea stuff in general is really, really interesting. And I like the way they print them as well. They do it on that sort of recycled type paper, that sort
yeah,
of
newsprint. Yeah, it's lovely.
it's Enfield Gang Massacre type style as
Uh-huh,
well. So
uh-huh.
really
Yeah,
liking that. I mean, we may as well stick with the violence and something that is going to be my bedside reading probably for the next week or so,
right,
which
right.
is the Marvel Premiere Collection for Punisher. Welcome back, Frank. So often seen as one of the best jumping on points for Punisher, written by Garth Ennis, of course, art by Steve Dillon and Jimmy Palmiotti. It's printed in this format, which is similar to the DC Compact, so smaller version.
Yep.
Small but mighty. Looks great, flicking through the art and so forth as well. It
Brilliant,
just it
brilliant.
looks like well, the event. There's my boy Daredevil as well. One of the few times Frank gets the better of him. But yeah, there's a wee bit of extra stuff in here as well. You get a foreword by John Bernthal, who of course plays Punisher in
Yeah,
live action, and also an introduction by Garth Ennis. So they are a wee bit more expensive. I've spoke about it before than the DC Compacts, but still great value at
yeah, yeah.
14 quid. So
So
ordered quite
that's
a
out
few of
this
these,
week.
and that's out this week.
Brilliant. I'll
Sticking with the
pick that
violent
up as
theme.
well. Lovely. Um, Transformers, Robert Kirkman and Dan Mora,
The
Mike Spicer
hardest
and
working
color.
artist in comics.
Absolutely. Pretty cool. Transformers 30. So we're 5 issues into Kirkman's new arc. Who will lead the Autobots? It's Optimus Prime versus Elita 1, and the future of the Autobots hangs in the balance. One shall stand and one shall. You know the rest. So very, very cool. Alita has returned from Civil War on Cybertron and is very disappointed with Prime. So looking forward to that.
Well, I mean, you may as well stay in the realms of space with your last one on there. We chatted about it
Sure
a little
thing.
bit, but
Sure thing. I've been looking forward to this one. Obviously, have been disappointed as well. Then with the idea that it's been cancelled, but the creative team of Dan Abnett and Marcello Ferreira, absolutely phenomenal on what will be the last of the Imperial books. And mini series rather than ongoing series, and that's Imperial Guardians 1. Gamora, Captain Marvel, Amadeus Cho, Darkhawk, Cosmic Ghost Rider. I love Darkhawk enough that it makes up for Cosmic Ghost Rider. Five unlikely operatives recruited by Maximus of the Inhumans. Their mission: protect the delicate balance of the new Galactic Union by any means necessary. Failure is not an option. Expendable, deniable, and disavowed. They are the Imperial Guardians. But can they do Maximus's dirty work and keep their consciences clear? Why has a Kree Grand Admiral gone rogue and attacked Hala? What's going on with Darkhawk's mind? What deluded fool thought Cosmic Ghost Rider was a team player? And most importantly, what kind of game is Maximus really playing? So I'll enjoy this. I almost fell out with it whenever I heard the news that it was pre-cancelled. I was going, well, screw you, Marvel. I'm just not going to buy any of it. But you don't see enough Darkhawk. So
then you looked at yourself in the mirror and went, "I'm Mr. Marvel. I have to do these things." I thought you were putting your own little spin on the solicitation there when I heard who was delusional about Cosmic Ghost Rider. I thought you were going to say like, what delusional idiot decided to put Cosmic Ghost Rider in
no, no, no. That's actually in the solicitation.
it? So yeah, Imperial Guardians number one this week. So just one last one from myself. This was one that was in the solicitations a couple of months ago that I didn't even know existed, but as soon as I saw it, I thought this is definitely going to be right up my alley. So it's from the golden era of Vertigo. It's called Flinch. It was a horror anthology. It was 16 issues in total, and you look at some of the creators on this. We got a little bit of a breakdown on the front of the cover there. But it features the works of Brian Azzarello, Richard Corbin, Garth Ennis, Jim Lee, Greg Rucka, Bernie Wrightson, and more. So delusions of grandeur, lustful desires, violent fantasies. We've all had dark thoughts we dare not act out. We've all imagined scenarios where we'd let our basest instincts take over, but we never speak or share them, because the reaction they might stir may cause others to flinch. Very, very good. The tales told here should leave a lasting impression on your psyche long after you finish reading them, whether you like it or not. So get comfortable, turn down the lights, and hold this collection close. Just ignore that shadow out of the corner of your eye or that murmur behind you. It's all just in your head. Or is it? But yeah, this just looks really, really fun. I love me a good anthology book. Um, Tons of great creators involved there, as I say. If you want to break down all the writers and artists, like there's your list at the front. So
Hmm.
tons of people there, and seems to come in at good value at 30 quid, 16 issues in there. So if you're a horror fan, I would say that'll be right up your alley this week.
Nice one. Okay, so stuff that we're looking forward to. What about last week or two, Alan? Anything that really rose above the rest for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's again probably no surprise that, you're going to hear a lot of repetition in this section, people. We apologize in advance, but the best stuff is the best stuff at the moment. I mean, for
Hmm.
me, I've been loving Fraction's Batman since he took over and Jorge
Yeah.
Jimenez art,
Yep.
and I feel like it's really, really hitting its stride now. Issue
Yeah.
7, the inevitable introduction of the Joker, but this is genuinely a Joker you've never seen before. This,
Man, it was creepy as it was really cool. Really enjoyed, you know, you're like, obviously it's the Joker, so you can't trust him, but can you trust him with
yeah,
regard to the situation he's in and all of that? Batman was always treated as the villain in this in a wee
yeah.
bit. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Looked great. That double page spread in the middle
Yeah.
was mad.
Well, it was a 4-page spread,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you so
yeah,
you,
yeah.
you
The
folded it
fold
out.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, the fold out in the middle. I mean, not to throw too many spoilers out there, but it does say it on the cover. But yeah, the 4-page spread literally is a look inside the Joker's mind. There's words said to the effect of something like, "Oh, Batman says, oh, I can never forget what you've done," and Joker's like, "Well, I can't forget it either." And if you're
Mm,
a DC fan and have been for years, there's nods to so many classic Joker stories in the past. The Clownfish, the killing of Jason Todd, the Killing Joke, Arkham Asylum,
mhm.
all these things. So, what I'm really loving about this book is, and I think I've spoken about it before, but it's so creepy, but it's all in the light. It's not like the
Mhm.
Joker hiding in the shadows. This is all a bright white room, Joker in a suspended tube where he can't even talk, but he can
Yeah,
still
yeah, yeah.
communicate.
And also he is through his sort of the chemical sort of process or castration or whatever that he's gone through here. He's now aware of his own crimes
Yeah.
and what they have done. So that's kind of really interesting. I think Fractions Batman is the best Batman has been in years. It's better for me than Tinian's run. It's better than Zdarsky's run. It's better than Williamson's run. It's better than King's run. It feels for the first time in years for me like a Batman that I can get behind. I think this is DC's best book at the minute. I really do.
Yeah, it's certainly hard to argue with it being the best in years. Certainly, it's still in its infancy, but I would say yeah, it's more immediate than those runs you've obviously
Yeah.
referenced there. But it just feels really fresh. I mean,
Yep.
anytime you're taking over these characters with such storied histories, been around so long, sometimes it's hard to give you something fresh that just doesn't feel like a retread. And this feels fresh. Like even down to little details. I love that Batman had to take his boots off,
Yeah.
to
It's
to go
barefoot.
and yeah,
Yeah.
it's a silly bit of an image, but it's also like you're almost taking the mystique and the power away from Batman in this instant. And even though
A
the
wee bit.
position the Joker is in, he's the one with all the power,
All the power.
which
Yeah.
is
Absolutely.
further solidified by that little stinger at the end,
Yeah.
which
No,
will
it's
lead on
great.
to the next issue. So yeah, if you're not on Batman, yeah, jump in. At 7 was a perfect jumping on point.
Yeah. Very
The
good.
first 6 issues will be out in trade in the next couple of weeks, I think.
Um, Conan the Barbarian number 29 from
I did say
Titan.
you might hear some familiar titles here, people.
And heroic signatures demonstrated the goodwill that Jim Zub and the team at Titan have created for Conan, because here we have an issue of Conan that does not feature Conan at all.
Blasphemy.
It's well, if you had an issue of Batman or an issue, some of those, or Spider-Man without Spider-Man in it, you'd have folk complaining.
We did. It's
Uh,
called Ultimate Spider-Man.
yeah, but this is a story about the origin of they're setting up a nemesis for Conan with the Son of the Tooth.
Yeah.
So this is his origin story, and it is absolutely engaging. Absolutely engaging. Highly recommend. Highly recommend Conan anyway. But this is a great issue, and it just goes to show how much we trust this team.
Yeah.
And I say the goodwill that they have
Hmm.
fostered. over
Yeah, it was
the
nice.
last number of
I
years.
don't know if it's our constant badgering of the title or not, but I had three new pull lists this week that added Conan to it, which is great to see from a series that's 20 odd issues in, nearly 30 issues in.
Yep.
A couple of people got caught up through the trades and they were just like this is fantastic stuff. We're like, we've been
Yeah.
telling you this for ages. I even went into my old story about how, you and Roddy had said to me, like when Jason Aaron was doing it back at Marvel, look, here's the 12 issues, read this, because swords and sandals didn't really used to be my thing. But
Uh-huh.
no, I big one of the biggest advocates for Conan around.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, another big one last week for me was definitely DC KO5. So it was the end of the DC event, predominantly from Scott Snyder, Joshua Williamson, and I have to say, it's an event I enjoyed far more than I expected. I've
Mm,
reached a point now with event fatigue, and the universe
agreed.
will never be the same, and
Yep.
you'll never see this coming. But this was a smart event just in its conception because it's that nerdy wish fulfillment of who would win the fight between this person and this person. So
Hmm.
that's engaging in itself, and what are the matchups going to be and stuff like that. So I just thought, yeah, great stakes throughout it all. I thought there's some changes in universe you'll see, certainly predominantly around Superman, but it's not a
Mm,
reboot or a restart or all
mm,
that kind of stuff that we
mhm.
always worry about when we get these events. And great art the whole way through it as well. A lot of the tie-ins were fun as well. I didn't read every tie-in, but
Yeah.
I picked and chose, and the ones I read I really enjoyed. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
really fun event.
yeah. Agreed. I enjoyed it much more than I thought it was going to. Very much. I wasn't even going to get on it. I was largely on the core titles. Some of the matchups were a wee bit weird, but still enjoyable. I do think in standard Scott Snyder event sort of way, I think they flubbed the ending a wee bit. It just felt,
I really enjoyed the ending.
you know,
I thought it ended really, really nice. I should say shout out to Javi Fernandez, who was the artist on it,
yeah.
because
Oh, the art was
the book
phenomenal.
felt epic the whole way through it.
I just
Uh,
couldn't understand. I was like, why? So a certain character won, and then another character obviously was swapped out at the end, and you're like, okay, here we go. Had to be that anyway.
mhm.
Had to be that. But I was like, why? Where's Superman going at the end? Why does he have to go away? Why? Just to bring in Superboy Prime? What's going on? Do you know?
Patience. What were we talking about? Patience.
It just didn't make a lot of sense. Didn't make a lot of sense. And for a climatic battle, the battle itself wasn't very climatic.
Oh, the
Uh,
battle was great. So it was,
I
you
think there was
had
maybe one punch
different
thrown.
characters getting the upper hand at different times, parts where you thought one
Mm.
character was down, but then they rose back up. I thought it was as good as it could be for like a 40-page comic, you know what I mean?
Uh,
I sort of felt every punch again, shouting out the art there as well. But
it did
yeah, I
look
mean,
good. It did
I
look
thoroughly
good.
enjoyed it. It's certainly, again, in terms of numbers and in terms of excitement in store, it's probably the biggest event we've ever had in terms of people being excited and coming in. And I think even things like the acetate cover added to that, and
Did.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it felt like a bit of a premium product, So, and there was great consistency through it, and it
It
never
was
missed a
way
release date.
better. It was
Yeah,
way better than death metal or metal. Way better, for sure.
definitely better than death metal. I don't know. I do love the first metal. I have to say, I
Um,
really, really love the first metal. But it's
total
definitely better than death metal. I'll give you that.
total change of gears.
Total change of gears, but also a finale.
Yes, absolutely. Probably my favorite book this week. Probably my favorite book actually for the last number of weeks.
Hold the
Uh,
phone.
was was the
Something beat Conan for you this week. Holy moly!
yeah,
And why
was
not? And why not?
the final issue of Patrick Hovart's Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees Rites of Spring. It is funny to say it, but it's a cozy anamorphic serial killer drama. It's set in
It's a
the
tough one to pitch to people. It's almost the
it's
book you just gotta say, trust me, bro.
yeah,
Trust me.
yeah. It's I mean it's anamorphic. All the characters are various animals. It's set in this lovely quiet village of Woodbrook, and the protagonist antagonist is a bear, a serial killer called Samantha Strong. And this is her second series, as someone whose brother was a victim of Samantha many years ago,
Which
was
is a
on the
great setup.
trail. Yeah,
Great setup. I think that, being able to bring in a family member who can't let go a mysterious
yeah,
disappearance
yeah,
is a
yeah, yeah.
great hook for the
And
story.
and just the whole Samantha just going, well, stuff it, it's over now. Let's see what happens. So obviously this finishes with the end, but I sincerely hope it's not the last we see of Samantha Strong.
Yeah, I mean, of course, if you want more Samantha Strong, you can check out DCKO Boss Battle, the most random crossover you'll ever see. But yeah, no, I fully agree. I think this has been one of the sort of. It was originally a sleeper hit, but it's now just a hit. Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. It's anyone who picks it up loves it. I mean, I would put this in the same bracket as Rick Remender's and Daniel Acuna's Escape. So,
Yes. Yeah.
anthropomorphic, some serious violence, some violence that really hits you, I think. And it's almost I think Rick chatted about it when we interviewed him before, but he was
Yeah.
like, I don't know if people are more horrified when things
If
happen
it
to
hits
animals
harder
or
because they're
humans.
animals, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's definitely worked well in both these books. But yeah,
Very much
Beneath the
so.
Trees, I've just recently restocked the first trade paperback in store. IDW published that, so if you're looking for that, jump in. And then
Brilliant.
Rites of Spring should be out, I would say probably around May,
Yeah, I
thereabouts.
would say so.
Uh,
Cool.
but but just one last one just for myself, simply because as I say, we're so on top of our pull list these days, we can even revisit books that we've loved in the past, in different formats. And one that I picked up this week was the Rook Exodus hardcover.
Brilliant.
Rook Exodus, it's a Ghost Machine book. We've talked about it before. Ghost Machine, one of the most exciting things in comics. Bunch of creators just got together to set up their own imprint at Image. So Jeff Johns, Jason Fabok, Gary Frank, Peter J. Tomasi, Brian Hitch. And they've done great books such as Redcoat, such as Geiger, books that are tying together. But this is the one book that maybe doesn't tie into the others, but it's a fantastic title. They've done oversized hardcovers for them, and stretching out Jason Fabok's art even bigger in this kind of
Mm,
scenario is
mm.
a glorious thing. Um,
The world building, fantastic.
yeah, just great sci-fi story, great world building, really good characters. Another really good examination of how even when the world is absolutely screwed, humans will still fight each other instead of uniting to actually maybe make it better.
God
But yeah, six,
forbid.
God forbid. But yeah, but 6 issues in total. They put it out in this glorious hardcover. There is a sequel one coming, I believe, because Jason Fabok, I think, recently teased it on social media that he's working again on Rook. So
Well, sure, we
yeah,
know
I highly
the sequel,
recommend that.
the first two issues of the sequel, right?
Are they?
Yeah.
Am I getting
Yes.
confused?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
absolutely. Yeah,
okay.
there's been a long drop off between, but there's been two issues out
Oh, okay.
as they hunt her father.
This is the problem with dealing with,
Yeah, yeah,
1,000 comic deliveries
100%.
every single week.
Yeah.
Slideshow, this will all be cut, we'll see. Uh,
So sorry, brother. You have had a rough week.
it's
So
been a week. It's
yeah,
been a
yeah,
week.
it's
I'm
been
not
a
gonna
week.
lie. But yeah, no,
Uh,
the original format is great. They have done oversized ones for Geiger as well, which is obviously Gary Frank's art's awesome.
Brilliant,
They haven't
brilliant.
done an oversized one for Redcoat yet though, which I know will sadden some people because that's
Yeah,
your favorite Ghost
that's
Machine
my
book, isn't
favorite
it?
of the three current unknown war
Well,
ones.
you've
Yeah,
always a soft spot for an immortal, don't you?
absolutely, I do. Absolutely, I do.
So yeah, those are some of the things we've been enjoying over the last week in terms of pull lists and bits and pieces we can also fit in once the pull list is finished. That lets you know the kind of stuff that's out this week. The new comic book day was 11th of March. Keith, of course, will be picking his up, I believe, today.
Yep.
And yeah, just always good to sort of chat. It's nice to be able to keep on top of this stuff in terms of being up to date and then keeping you guys up to date with what's coming out so that hopefully you don't miss anything along the way. But yeah, we'll be back next week, same bat time, same bat channel. We're doing our best to always release these on a Thursday. So it'll always be on YouTube, but it'll also be in the podcast as well, the podcast channel. So whether you just want to listen to us or you want to look at these beautiful faces at the same time,
Beautiful.
we got you covered. So yeah, until next week, I gotta go pick up my son.
All right, my four brother brother. I will talk to you very, very soon.
I gotta get a business card with 4 color brother on it. Cheers,
Good
guys.
night. Bye bye.